guys, how's it going today? Chelsea here. I'm excited to bring you another book review for this video. I am reviewing I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. This is an author that I have heard so much about and I've wanted to read forever. Everyone says that if you're interested in horror, thriller type stuff, this is the guy that you read. And while I do not like this version of the book, I don't like this cover at all. It was the cheapest one that I found at a McKay's when I went to Chattanooga a while back. It was like $1. I wanted the original cover, but they didn't have it, so I just got this one. It's the one that I read. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you're not interested in any kind of spoilery talk about the story, this might not be the video for you, and that's totally fine. I wanted to read this book because I did like the movie, but honestly, PewDiePie reviewed it in one of his book videos that he did. I thought it was really interesting. It's about vampires, and I was like, what? It's about vampires. So I was like, yeah, I want to read that. And it's not like stupid wimpy vampires that glitter. So I was totally interested. So I picked up a copy. I'm going to give you my opinions on this. So first, I guess I want to compare the book to the movie. I think that's a very interesting perspective on it, and to me it was kind of important. If you saw the movie, you know that Will Smith is the main guy, and he has an interesting bout with his sanity and being alone in the city for so long, trying to stay away from these monsters, fighting them. He's super smart and a scientist while also kind of going mentally insane because he's all alone. I love that. I love that take on the story, and I thought it was very interesting, and the ending was really good. I thought that it wasn't perfect because he dies, but then it was also really cool because it was like, well, what's gonna happen? Like, are they gonna cure it? Like, what, you know, it was a very dramatic, climactic ending, and I thought it was very interesting to see, and I liked it. I don't understand why he was sexually attracted to the female vampires. It never really described if they were like sexier or something, but all I could think of was the way they looked in the movie, but like a little curvier, so they just looked really scary. And so throughout most of the story, or the beginning of it at least, he's like talking about how hard it was for him to not have sex with the female vampire monsters. And I thought that was very weird, a very weird choice. Maybe it was just him trying to portray a character that is a man and is reverting back to like Neanderthal thoughts. And, you know, back in the day, they didn't ask for consent. They just did their thing to make babies. And so maybe that's what he was going for with making him very attracted to the female form. Maybe it was like, you know, men are going to revert back to back in the day whenever they get to an apocalyptic situation like this. Maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know, but I was weirded out by it just because it was so random and I didn't know how sexy these monsters were. I mean, if it like described them, like it said that they were calling out to him and maybe they sounded sexy, but just me knowing what they look like in the movie, I just can't imagine that being sexy. This book is totally different from the movie. There might be a couple of things that are similar, but they are so incredibly different. Okay, first of all, there's a dog, but it's in there for like one chapter, and the last line of that chapter was the dog was dead in a week. Not even kidding. Like, the dog is not even important. Barely in it. He looks nothing like the dog in the movie, which I guess that's just me being picky, but it's just interesting the liberties that people take, and this might be like the second book movie that I've watched and read. I've only started recently reading a ton, so I haven't done a lot of that. It was interesting to me to see the differences that they took. There's no scene in the movie store that I really liked from the movie. That was probably my favorite scene from the movie, was the movie store scene where he was talking to the mannequin, but that's not in this, which made me a little sad. There's a woman in this one, like in the movie he runs into a woman and her son, I think, but in this one it's just a woman, and she ends up being a like super mega ultra vampire race of people that are taking over and trying to make sure that all humans are dead and become the new race of people that overtake the world. So it's kind of weird how that is just totally off from the book and movie. Like, I don't understand. I like the scene where she comes into his life and he like chases her down, and then she tries to prove that she's not a monster, and then when he finally tries to prove that she is or isn't a monster, like he starts to believe her, and he's going to test her blood to see if she really is a monster. Then she freaks out and apparently is a monster. Like, that was a lot going on, and it was a lot like convoluted to me, but it wasn't bad. Like, his writing is pretty good. I enjoyed learning about the character and his mental state and knowing what he was thinking and how he was struggling with his own humanity and figuring out what is right and wrong, even though these creatures aren't people anymore. And he's trying to determine, like, when do they stop being a person and when are they actually dead. He doesn't start being a scientist until like halfway through the book, as opposed to at the beginning of the movie he's already deep into it. It's funny because the story's about a white guy, obviously. Like, and when reading the book, you can tell it's a white dude, like blue eyes, blonde hair. But in the book, it's the book cover, it's Will Smith. I just thought that was funny. Not that it matters. I'm glad the movie chose to make him a black guy. That's interesting to me. But I just thought that was really funny how he's on the cover and the actual book's about just a random white dude. The last line of the book is "I am legend," as you can see right there, which I thought was cool. But did you notice how there's still like half a book here after I read the story? Well, I was very confused and upset by this because there's nothing on this book to tell me what the other half of this book is. I thought this was the entire story. And so when I got to the end of the I Am Legend, there's all this extra stuff. And I was like, what the heck is this? There's nothing on here to tell me what this extra stuff is. It just started off a new chapter that says buried talents, like a new chapter almost. And I was like, is this a continuation of I Am Legend or is this something else? And I kept reading and reading and I was like, these are short stories, I guess, by Matheson, and nothing on this book tells me that it had short stories on it, and I didn't know that. Like, there's nothing on the front or back of this book that tells me that it has like a ton of short stories at the end of it, which, I mean, I like short stories. I will read them eventually, but I was so turned off by not knowing that was coming and confusion as to, is this the actual end of the book now or is it still going? Because it wasn't such a tonal shift and it didn't tell me that that was the end of the book. So I guess maybe I'm just dumb, but I didn't know, and I was so confused for like an extra 10 pages, and I finally was like, okay, I guess this is just not continuing his story anymore, and that was it. Like, I guess it was just not as it was not as climactic at the end as I wished it would be, I guess, and that made me unsure of the ending. The movie might have ruined that for me though, so I can't say that if you had only read the book it wouldn't be better. You know, maybe if you haven't seen the movie, read the book first. That way you'll enjoy it more. I do think the movie did a better job of world building. He did not describe the world as much as I would have liked. You really wouldn't know what city he was in unless if you missed maybe 2 or 3 sentences. If you missed maybe 2 or 3 sentences, you would not have a clue where he's at or anything, because the only time it describes anything is like when he's in his house, and even then it's not very descriptive. So the surroundings weren't very described, but his mental state was, so I guess that's a good trade-off. I really enjoyed learning about where he was up here and the struggle of, is he ready to die? Does he want to die? Can he die? You know, that kind of thing. I liked the exploration of vampire lore and what is a vampire and what makes a vampire a vampire. I thought that was very interesting, and like the fact that he was in the war and got bit by a vampire bat and that might have made him immune. I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed that perspective, and the monsters were more interesting in this novel than they were in the movie. In the movie they were just kind of like zombie monster things. They didn't really have a purpose or a reason or anything. They just kind of developed from a cancer vaccine, which in the book, that's not how it happens. Like, there's not a vaccine that breaks out and causes people to turn. They just randomly turn, and it's unclear as to why. So he's trying to figure out all of that by himself, which of course doesn't lead anywhere if you can't tell. And he just kind of dies. So it's a guy who is the last person alive, supposedly. He keeps getting hope. Like, he keeps saying he's done, there's no hope. Then something happens, he gets hope, he loses hope, becomes depressed again. Something else happens, he gets hope, gets depressed again, and at the end he kind of decides he wants to live, but then he's like, well, you know, this is the end, I'm the last human. That's what makes him a legend, the fact that he was the last human and that these people were trying to kill the last humans. So yeah, that's why he's a legend. Do I like the movie or the book better? I'll be honest, I like the movie better. I know I don't like saying that because it seems so like lazy, but I like the movie better because of the world building and some of the extra little things here and there, the drama between the dog and everything. I thought that was more interesting. The ending was a lot more climactic and it felt like it meant something. It wasn't just thrown out there. But the book was really good. It had lots of great things going for it. I like the vampire thing a lot more. And finally, do I recommend this book and how did I rate it? I gave this book 4 stars because I thought it was very good. I would probably read it again in the future, and I'm going to keep this copy unless I get a better looking cover, and then I'll probably either like sell or trade or just give this to someone who might be interested in reading it. I do recommend it. I think it's a good story and it's one that you should read. It leads a lot to your humanity and what is it? What is humanity, and do we deserve to live above this other race of people? I think that's a very interesting idea. There are things I think could be improved, but it's not a bad book. I liked it a lot. I reviewed it on Goodreads. If you want to check out my review on there, you can. I'll put the link in the description below so you can follow me on there and see what else I'm reading. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I upload new videos every single week. I'm getting on a really good schedule here. I hope you've noticed. And I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.